So Vox wrote a pretty interesting article about the Yang slight that we've been mentioning for the last couple of days. In this paragraph right here, they give a recap about how there was a poll that had Yang higher than O'Rourke, by about 2 points. And for some reason, when CNN put the graphic up, Yang was missing and O'Rourke was present, and they labeled it top Dems, which is factually incorrect and very weird. They have, and I read this in the previous another video, so I'm gonna skip over it. But there's the graphic in question. So Mr. 1% can get on here, but not Mr. 3. Not the person ahead of him. That makes a lot of sense. Supporters complain that the media has deliberately sought to undermine Yang's candidacy by ignoring him. This is total BS. One person tweeted, "I'm mad," and tweet another. Some people swapped a separate graphic showing how often candidates are mentioned on major cable and television networks, and Yang trailing most other 2020 contenders. Others took it as an opportunity to spread the word about Yang and tried to demonstrate Yang's power. And when Yang on Thursday announced he'd be appearing on CNN in the evening, they celebrated it as a victory. Which I haven't seen an interview yet, so if someone can link me to it, I'll look for it to see if I can find it. The Yang media blackout is an example of how Yang, who hails from the startup world, has amassed a vocal online community of supporters in the Yang gang. Well, sometimes problematic. Okay, I don't know what this means. And here's my thing, right? It's very common for people who have a large group of supporters or backers to have undesirable people supporting them. It's like when we talked about the Sanders supporters that were molesters. Now, overall majority of his backers are not touching anybody. They're keeping their hands to themselves. But because this little small, thin group of people did something stupid, oh my God, look at those toxic Bernie bros. So it's that same kind of thing of they take a few people and make it seem like it's some kind of big, huge deal. But let's continue. The Yang has helped propel his candidacy forward. Yang, who is running on a universal basic income platform, is one of the election cycle's most memed candidates. So that really should tell you how in touch he is with the internet and the people who are on there. And just like, that's why I don't understand the televisions or these cable networks refusing to cover him at all. Like, they'd rather sit here and tell you for 5 days about Biden giving some inaccurate war story than tell you about the guy's legislative goals. Okay, Yang and his supporters are hardly the only group to complain about unfair treatment from media this election cycle. And then you have some other examples right there. The situation is yet another example of a Twitter hashtag shaping a campaign narrative. The Yang gang has been mad online for a while. Yang supporters have throughout this election cycle complained that he's not being treated fairly by the media and other gatekeepers. The CNN graphic and the Yang media blackout is just the latest example of that. After the June Democratic debates, Yang accused NBC of cutting off his microphone. There were also times, FYI, where I started talking, being like, "Hey, I'd like to add something there," and my mic was not on. Yang told supporters after the debate, according to Political. He reiterated this complaint in a subsequent interview on The View and also complained he was only asked 2 questions. Another candidate complained, I don't even consider her anything. Let's just continue. But during both of the 2 debates we've had so far, the Let Yang Speak hashtag trended on Twitter. And I don't know why they're mentioning this, but there's been a difference between how Yang has fared online, how he's been doing in the polls, being covered by the media. So they acknowledge that there's a difference in the treatment of his candidacy by actual people that, whether you want to admit or not, the internet is more conducive of people than these networks where you've got some overpaid prick in a suit for 8 hours with other, rich people. And it's like, so you admit it, but then you're still telling me that the supporters are problematic. The tech entrepreneur sparked a lot of Twitter chatter. According to social media software company Sprout Social, Yang was the 4th most discussed candidate on Twitter during the last 2 Democratic debates. Yeah. But keep telling me how, what is the narrative here? They kind of have a point. No, they have a point. And see, that's the little thing where they try to act. They give you like a halfway nod, like, oh, we kind of see where you're coming from, but we don't really want to go all the way there. It's like, guys, just admit that it is that picture and what CNN did was very weird. The Mike story might not have been made up, and that his online supporters are a good showing of having grassroots support. That's why it was stupid for him to even have to, and along with all the other candidates, for him to have to get to a donor threshold and then have to like hope and pray that 2% of the dinosaurs that use landlines say his name when they ask him who they're going to vote for. It's like he has grassroots backing, and the person who wrote this article, even if they don't want to admit that that every one of these complaints has been legitimate so far, it's the truth. Look at this. To a certain extent, they've got a point. 2000 conspiracy theory primary is kind of a thing. Is not the first conspiracy to pop up on Twitter this election cycle, and like it or not, it's probably not going to be the last. See, this is okay. Well, like I said, Vox usually I'm all right with them, but this article's kind of getting a little dumb here. It's a conspiracy theory to say that Kamala Harris was destroyed after participating in a debate where her record as Attorney General was most scrutinized since she entered this primary, and her poll numbers have been dropping ever since. That's all a conspiracy theory. All of that is just, you know, not even, you're just completely, look at this. Harris's camp said it was being spread by bots, organic. So, you know they are. They try to blame Russia for everything. We can't just talk about issues. And I love how they bring up this Harris thing, and they never mention the fact that this lady never addressed any of the stuff that Gabbard said. In a just world where candidates were given legitimate attention by the media that was fair, I could see Yang probably in like second or third place at this point. But again, you're fighting between barely being mentioned on TV and having these ridiculous articles written where people want to be like, oh, you guys he kind of has grassroots supporters who like him for his actual positions versus, you know, first woman, whatever. But, you know, it's kind of, at the same time, it's a sort of a conspiracy theory that CNN did something that has been proven, you know, with actual evidence, like people taking screenshots of their gaffe and their mistake. So this is the continued plight of the Yang Gang. You guys have to fight off against people that halfway want to acknowledge you and halfway want to screw you up. But like I said, they're going to be the ones who regret it when, you know, after being pissed off in the primary or having your candidate messed over by a lack of coverage, you don't turn out to vote. And then they start whining and going, oh, please come out and save us from mean Trump. You should have thought about that when you messed with our candidate and didn't give him the fair coverage he deserved.